So you already know what this is. This is pumpkin spice ice cream. Yes, it is October. That is just, I think, the natural thing. So we're opening up a can of pumpkin puree. You could totally use any other pumpkin substance. I have pumpkin puree. Now, the measurements for this aren't exactly right. I eyeball ice cream a lot. I've made it so many times. So we're making a simple ice cream base, which uses sugar, cream. You could usually use heavy cream. I used heavy whipping cream. Don't do that. Don't do that. um, it kind of gives a tiny bit of a chalky flavor unless you add egg yolks, and if you don't want to add egg yolks, then don't. Then equal parts of milk and cream, so I did 2 cups of both, and then I just do a tiny bit of sugar in the pan. I'm going to mix sugar in the egg yolks. Anyway, you'll see. Now, I love this sped up footage. It's always so fun to just see feet running around. Anyway, we're gonna slowly bring that to a little bubbly stage. Not a burning sizzle, but just a fizzle. We're gonna add in our pumpkin puree. I did about 5 tablespoons. Do as much as you want. I recommend until it looks orange or tastes like pumpkin. That's good. Then again, remember that after freezing it will taste a little more like pumpkin. So, you're just going to be taking 1 tablespoon at a time, mixing it together, breaking any big chunks up. This would be best with a high-powered whisk, or just a normal-powered whisk that you put a lot of energy into. But if you're doing whipping cream, you do not want to do that, because then you'll form whipped cream, and that won't freeze well. That won't make ice cream. I kind of did a small version of a whisk. Well, I didn't do it vigorously, making stiff peaks, creating whipped cream. I just did very, swiggles. Then again, this is sped up footage, so it looks like I'm beating the absolute frick out of it, but I'm really not. I'm just slowly mixing it. And just trying to break up any big chunks of pumpkin. And again, I'm adding about five-ish, until I notice that it becomes significantly more orange and tastes a little pumpkin-y. You won't taste it immediately. Remember that once this is ice cream flavor, you'll be able to taste it. Now in Michigan, there's this big thing, the end of October, pumpkin spice flurries? Yeah, flurries. And they are the best. They're basically milkshakes, but it's usually soft ice cream mixed with a hard ice cream. Anyway, it's pretty confusing. It's basically a milkshake, so I'm making a kind of milkshake almost. You'll see, but it's a big thing here in Michigan, and it's a big thing around October. Usually, kind of the first couple weeks, because ice cream stores like to close a lot. Now we're gonna be mixing in our spices. You could use the boxed pumpkin pie spice, which is nutmeg, cinnamon, and ginger. Eyeball it because that's what I did. Usually you want to use less ginger than cinnamon and nutmeg. Again, do however much you want. If you want it to taste like a pumpkin pie, totally do it. If you don't want to do that much, well, don't. I'd recommend doing always more cinnamon and more what's it called? More cinnamon than ginger and more cinnamon than nutmeg. So usually do cinnamon at the top of the list, nutmeg, then ginger. So you can do a tablespoon, half a tablespoon, half a teaspoon. I don't know. Do whatever you want. Now we're going to be separating egg yolks. Why egg yolks? Egg yolks are just richness. Now, where the white part is the protein, the white is not the white. Well, the white is the protein, the yellow is the fat, and that is necessary. It will give a much more dense-ish kind of taste. Now, just separate the egg yolks however you want to. I kind of like to just reach in with my hands. I know there's a couple where you spoon them out. There is that one that I did a little earlier where it's the 2 eggs passing it between the shells. That can break, so be careful. Do it at your own risk. Now, try to remove as much weight as you can. After all, that will kind of not be great. Now, I'm mixing in a little more sugar with it, mainly because I don't want to risk these curdling. If you don't know, if you mix a hot temperature like the ice cream base, you will eventually scramble these eggs. So mixing them with sugar will kind of prevent that, along with tempering. Now, it is important to know that I am beating this very fast. But what's more important to note is that the mixture is still on the stove. It's on about low heat. It is just starting to bubble a little bit on the sides, not as much as you'd think. Now we're going to slowly pour it in. I like to wrap it around a towel. That way I can do some one-handed whisking. So just mix it a little bit in. I mix a little too much, but then you just mix it for longer. And then you can pour almost the whole thing in. I'm sorry I covered my hand because this is a strange pot. And just keep on whisking. That will prevent the eggs from scrambling. Then again, I am going to run this through a sieve for any non, dissolved pumpkin puree and anything else. So just get ready to pour this. I poured this into a Tupperware container. I have seen ones where you pour it into just into the pot and put it in the fridge. Just put it wherever you want. Put it in the fridge overnight. I did about a day and a half. Nah, you can do up to 2 days. This won't really spoil, but I'd recommend the faster you do it, the better. Now, see, all that pumpkin puree and scrambled eggs is saved. I still want to kind of run that through again, kind of get any of the juices out, and put it back in to the Tupperware. Now you're just going to seal that with a lid or a cling wrap. Put it in the fridge overnight. At least 24 hours. That way it gets cold. That way it will churn easier. If you did it right away, you'd have a lot of problems. It would take longer to churn and your ice cream machine won't work. Now, I did this at night, so sorry for the look. But you want to have your ice cream machine? Yeah, I know. You might not own an ice cream machine, but this is honestly a great tool to have in the kitchen. It's fun, and there are tons of hacks around it. A bunch of videos where you use a pan, and so we're just starting this on and mixing in our ice cream. Now, you want to mix it in a little slow, and you just let it do the work. It churns itself. It churns, so just leave it there. Make sure to get all the spice because after all, that's kind of the best part. And you can see it's starting to get thick. That's not immediate. That's about 10 minutes. This is about 20 minutes. It is not passing the stay on the spoon test. You want it to stay on the spoon. I recommend going about 40 minutes or until it stops your ice cream machine. That is totally fine. That's a perfect space to know when it's done. I have seen some people just take this, saran wrap it, put it in the freezer. I'm going to put it back in the Tupperware container because why not waste the dish? And, because I want to clean this out. So, yeah, just fold it in there. And I would recommend, I didn't do it, but I always recommend it, putting a nice piece of cling wrap on it and still putting the lid on it if it has a lid. But since this didn't reach the top like I was expecting, I'm just going to kind of put a bit of just put the thing back on. Now this is the hardest part of making ice cream, is getting it in there because it takes so long. So yeah, enjoy this kind of Three Stooges like footage of me doing that. Yeah, I might just scoop it in with my hands. I'm a monster, okay? I am. I know it. You should just be fine with that. It honestly tastes really good from this time. Now, if you were doing a smaller Tupperware container or less ice cream, if you did a cup and a cup of heavy whipping cream and heavy cream and normal milk, then you of course would end up with good old soft serve right at this stage. But it's not great right now. I always recommend it overnight. Because it'll taste better a little bit. The flavors will taste better, deeper, I guess I should say. Now just flatten that out, get it nice and flat. And you could definitely have a spoonful now, but okay, fine. I ate like a bunch of it off camera because it was really good. Anyway, don't do as I say, do as I do. I mean, don't do as I say, do as I. Ugh, never mind. Anyway, I have one of these old fangled ice cream machines, and look at that. I left it over the weekend. My mistake. The great thing about ice cream that's already been churned is it is still good at just freezing like ice cream. If you unfreeze it, it can kind of churn. It will turn itself back into ice cream. It won't be giant sheets of ice crystals. But then again, I don't recommend that. I always recommend churning it. So I'm not having too much luck with it. That's the great thing about this ice cream. Since we're making a milkshake, basically, and it tastes great, by the way, it is alright if you put it in the microwave. Do about 30 seconds, feeling it every 10. Anyway, we're just going to be adding some. I would recommend putting a spoon under hot water, but I didn't feel like doing ice cream scooper. Just felt like doing a spoon. And yes, this is just for me, so why should I, be super precautious with it. But I do want you to know this tastes great, even though I did let it freeze a little bit. I always recommend eating it the day after. That is when it's best. Best ice cream. That's when it's best ice cream. Then again, if you have it left over, well, totally make a milkshake with it, because after all, it's just wasted ice cream. And then we're going to we're gonna mix it with a little bit of milk. I'm doing, I'd say, just like maybe half a cup, 1/4 of a cup. Anyway, doing equal parts of milk to ice cream, and just putting it in our milkshake machine. And yes, bad angle, but you gotta kind of keep this moving. Oh, that fell out. You have to really keep the thing moving. This is how it is, sadly. I know. Don't talk about in the comments that I should have washed that. I know that. I know. I'm pretty gross when I'm cooking food for myself because I don't care. That's the secret. I don't care. It's for me. Now it is getting to that stage, but not quite yet. You want it to be kind of like a little bit of melted ice cream. You know, a milkshake, but a tiny bit thicker. And this was a little loosey-loosey, but it was still great. Oh, look at that. Yep, I overfilled it. The thing about milkshakes is you're always going to have a little bit left in the metal cup, and that's the whole point of it. Now get yourself a straw, well, after you clean it up in the absolute mess you made of ice cream and milk. And anyway, you're going to have to clean that up, and it tastes great. Honestly, I did not let that go to waste. I ate it. It was amazing. So, you could, of course, garnish it with a nice amount of the pumpkin spice filling. Pumpkin spice. Spice. Yeah. I'm doing just some nutmeg and a tiny bit of cinnamon. Not going to do any ginger, mainly because I'm worried that it will get a little more funkiness. And then, of course, add a straw. You cannot drink a milkshake without a straw. Do it with a metal one or a reusable one, like this one that I have. It's all spooky and scary. Perfect time for Halloween. Anyway, this is a great little October treat. It is always nice to have some kind of milkshake, before December rolls its way in, which is always the doom. And look at that. Amazing. Now, I do want you to do one thing. There's a little I button over there. Go click it. Answer it. Hope that you enjoyed this recipe. It was fantastic.